You see these tectonic shifts in technology every so often. The personal computer in the 70s, the internet in the 90s, mobile computing in the early aughts. I think virtual reality is one of those tectonic shifts where it impacts an entire industry. And entertainment is that industry right now, but I think with virtual reality it's going to be not just entertainment, but it's going to impact many, many industries, just like PCs did, just like the internet did, just like mobile computing did. When you get something that's that powerful, people get excited. And I've never ever seen people light up the way they light up when they see VR. When you get somebody in a VR experience that's running on the right hardware and is playing a really good experience, they light up. They freak out. They get they get really, really happy and really, really excited. And that's what happened. That's what happened with me when I had my first VR experience. I wasn't sure about the technology. I thought it was really interesting. This was in 2014, just when VR was starting to catch on in like certain circles. And when I took the headset off, I was like, oh my God, this hardware is so shitty right now. But the fact that like I really got transported somewhere else, the fact that I felt even in the pixelated, crummy version of it, that I had entered an entirely new story world. I knew then and there that I had to change my career, that I had to put my entire life's energy into making VR an art form, because that's what I saw its potential was. And I think that's why everyone is getting so excited for all the different applications, is because when you get a good VR experience, that little light bulb goes off and you go, oh, this is going to be perfect for whatever, right? And for me, it was storytelling. When I saw the first VR experience, I was a filmmaker for 10 years. My uncle was a filmmaker. My dad and both my stepdad, they're film composers. Film runs deep in my family, and it's deeply ingrained in me and has always been a passion. But I fell out of love with the industry part, and so I went into technology, and I did design, I did product design, and that never quite satisfied me either. So when I had that transcendent first VR experience, I was like, oh my God, I can finally marry my two loves of technology and storytelling. And so for me, that's why I knew I had a clear mission right then and there, that I had to spread the gospel of virtual reality as an art form. The idea that this was not just some technology gimmick, but something that legitimate artists could use to express ideas and to tell stories. And so when I got that sort of thunderbolt, I looked around to see who else got bit by the same bug, who else was thinking of virtual reality in those terms. And there wasn't many people. So what I did was my wife and I started this little tiny meetup group in San Francisco, and we posted it on like a Thursday, and we're like, we're gonna, who's interested in virtual reality cinema? And even that term was like, nobody was thinking about it in those terms back then. I mean, this was like, fall of 2014. And through that, we realized that we weren't alone. Like our first meetup group had like 100 people, and we were so thrilled. We're like, oh my God, there's 100 other people in San Francisco that think that we can tell stories in virtual reality. And then our second group, we had like 200 people. And it sort of just snowballed until by summer of 2015, we're like, we got to take this on the road. So we got a U-Haul, we packed it with all the virtual reality equipment that we could get our hands on, and we went to 10 different cities all through North America. And the same thing happened again. We did our first stop in Portland, Oregon. We had like 150 people there, 200 people, and folks were curious. They didn't know what to make of it, but they were clearly excited. And by the time we finished in Austin, Texas, we did a huge loop, up to Canada and back down. We had it was like packed, like 400 people. It was sold out, and that's really just been the story throughout the entire industry. It's doubling every 6 months. So Kaleidoscope at its heart is a company that supports independent artists. When we started the company, we had a few friends that were making some of the most amazing early virtual reality experiences. Skillman and Hackett are two friends in San Francisco. We saw their very, very first version of Tilt Brush, which has become the first killer app for virtual reality in the HTC Vive, and seeing them blossom and seeing their product blossom. Another friend, Tyler Hurd, made the very first animated film for virtual reality called Butts, which is this ridiculous animated cartoon where these two characters cheer each other up by pulling confetti out of their ass. Totally bizarre. Nobody would think it's a good idea, but it's amazing and people love it. My 84-year-old grandma cracked up, and when we saw that, when we saw these people making that, we realized that there's a business to be built around supporting these types of artists, these individuals or small teams who are largely left out of the economics of the entertainment industry. Sort of the auteurs who are building things in their basement. And we thought that we had a hunch that there was enough of these people that are working in their basements, that are working in their spare time, working on the weekends, creating these projects because they are excited about the medium and because they believe in it as an art form, that if we could create a network of all of these independent artists, we could build a business on top of that. And the very first business or the very first product that we're building on top of this community are events. And the reason is because right now, virtual reality it's really hard to get your hands on the equipment. It's really hard to know which experiences are good and which are bad, so discovery is very difficult. Even finding collaborators is difficult. So we thought that the very first product we're going to sink our teeth into, and that's going to help this community, is building a network of events all around the world. So we have 20 groups that meet regularly in all the major cities around the world, and we don't think that events are going to be the long-term end goal, but right now it's a profitable business. And again, it's because there's so much excitement and so many people looking for a way to get into this industry and to understand the industry. So having a physical place where people can come and meet and see the examples of the very best in cinematic virtual reality, where they can see also stuff that doesn't work. One of the things we encourage is artists to come and show their work in progress, and a lot of those are disasters. But you learn from those disasters. They're like, wow, that really didn't work, but I have an idea for how it might work. And it's that conversation that we want to facilitate. So right now, people scratch their heads and are like, why are you doing all these events? That doesn't seem like a product. That doesn't seem like a real business that you can build around that. And on the one hand, we agree, in the long term, that's probably not the business we want to be in. But for right now, it makes all the sense in the world to give people a physical, tangible place where they can meet creators in their city, and can meet people that can help fund their content, people that can help distribute their content, people that can help answer technical questions. I'm an engineer, you're an artist, let's get together and make a film. We've seen that happen countless times at our events. So the next stage for us is, as a business, is to grow beyond those events and to move that community from the real world online. It's the natural next step, to have all those kinds of business interactions that are happening in the real world at our events happen online, where artists can easily create a profile for themselves, create a profile for their project, can solicit investment in their project, can sell licensing for their finished work. All those types of things that large studios do easily, right? Independent artists don't have those tools and that platform and that network. So we're going to build that network and those tools for them so they can manage their own careers in a way that they really can't right now. Most of them are just artists that are working for the love of it, and they don't really have a clear idea to how to turn it into a business. We think we can build something that gives an individual or a small group of talented people all of the infrastructure they need to make a living out of creating this amazing art that we're seeing bubble up all around the world. A lot of people ask us, when are we going to do our virtual reality film festival in virtual reality? And I think it's a fair jab, and the irony is not lost on me that we are pushing this idea of virtual reality being this new art form, and yet we're doing it through physical, real-world events. And I think that is a nod to the fact that real life isn't going away. Virtual reality is not going to replace every aspect of our life. It's going to enhance certain aspects. It's going to give us the ability to step into other people's shoes and to tell stories in completely new ways. But there's never going to be a replacement for a face-to-face interaction in the real world. At least I hope there won't be, because that would certainly be fucking crazy. So after doing 20 high-profile events around the world, we've learned some things. One of the things that we've learned is that the VR creator movement is global. In every creative hub around the world, there is an active community today building virtual reality experiences. I wasn't sure if that was the case before we set out on this epic mission to travel the world to showcase these artists' VR experiences, but it's true. It's global. The other thing is that it's growing even faster than you think. We've seen a doubling of the industry every 6 months. When we did the first North American Virtual Reality Film Festival, we had to absolutely exert ourselves beyond belief to get together 18 films that were good. This year we had over 200 submissions to the 2016 World Tour, and the quality blew last year's out of the water. The number of people showing up to these events is like so much larger than last year. So it's global, it's growing faster than you think, and the final thing, and the most important thing that we've learned, is that there's a lot of different players that are getting into virtual reality right now. There's a lot of different people who are pushing the medium forward. But the thing that we've realized is that independent artists are the ones that are driving the thing that we've realized is that independent artists are the ones who are pushing the medium forward than anyone else. And the reason is because they're doing this without huge budgets. They're doing this without big teams. And what that affords them is the ability to take big creative risks. And when you take those big creative risks, they don't always pay off. But that's the only way that you're going to discover the new language of this art form. When you've got big players that are spending big dollars, that have big teams, they're naturally going to be more conservative. They're going to take small incremental steps. And what we think is that we need to take wild risks, and really the independent artists are the ones that are doing that right now, and consequently they're the ones who are producing the most innovative and interesting work. Well, I think it goes back to the idea that this whole VR industry is growing faster than anyone knows and anyone really fully appreciates. I think right now there's probably about 2 to 3 million folks out there that have VR headsets. By the end of this year, it's probably going to be close to 20, 30 million. I think by 2018, this is going to be a legitimate market where people can have enough users out there that have VR headsets in their home to have real businesses built around it. Right now, it's all speculative dollars. It's venture capital, it's brands that are spending money. Give it until 2018, and then there's going to be a real legitimate consumer market that you can build products for and apps for and build content for and actually build robust businesses on top of. Cool. At Kaleidoscope, we think of ourselves as kind of like a record label for independent artists. And we're not the only ones, though, that are appreciating the independent artists. You know, that's our raison d'etre, that's our modus operandi. That's like when we get up in the morning, we're thinking, how are we going to support these artists in this community? But we're not doing it by ourselves. We've got some tremendous partners that have helped nurture this community, particularly Samsung Gear VR. They've donated all the hardware that we bring on the World Tour, and they've also funded a lot of the artists that we're working with. Weaver Transport, they're the distribution network that we put all of these artists' work through. They've been hugely supportive of this. This could not have happened without them. G Technology, one of the exhibitors here at NAB show, is a huge supporter. So we've got a lot of large brands that really get that independent artists are, in a lot of ways, the lifeblood and the thing that are pushing this medium forward. And without some brave companies stepping forward and supporting this community, it would not be what it is today, and it might die on the vine. So I think all the artists that we work with are cognizant of that and appreciate it.